my kids say that I'm a spy.
Because you lived in India forever. And
Well, I'm often on the road to random places. I know I travel internationally, and I get things from places where they need to be when they need to be there, and so it sounds like a great cover for a spy.
What I do is inconsequential. Why I do what I do is I get to shorten people's journeys every day. What I love about our hospitality industry is that it's our mission to make people feel cared for while on their journeys. Together, we'll explore what hospitality means in the built environment, in business, and in our daily lives. I'm Dan Ryan, and this is Defining Hospitality. This podcast is sponsored by Berman Falk Hospitality Group, a design-driven furniture manufacturer who specializes in custom case goods and seating for hotel guest rooms.
today's guest is a global business leader who leads with both vision and heart. I'm excited for this conversation because his career has taken him all over the world and also started at relatively the same time as mine. From overseeing operations in India and Latin America to leading major hospitality, casino, senior living, and entertainment projects here in the United States. He's a hospitality industry expert, a trusted voice, and very passionate about purchasing and project management. He's a global business leader with a passion for growth and innovation as well. And he is someone who values relationships, culture, and people just as much as results. He's also, which I can't wait to pull this one apart with him and dig in here. He's an advisor to the Richardson High School Hospitality School in Richardson, Texas. He's on the board of the Indian Gaming Association. He is on the American Hotel Lodging Association, or AHLA as we all know it, Design and Construction Committee. He's the past president of ISHP, and now he serves as CEO of PMI and PMI Tribal Services. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Carl Long. Welcome, Carl.
Hey, thanks, Dan. Good to be here.
So that's one of the longer introductions I've done for anyone of however many conversations that we've done here. And what I love about it, and I think I wanted to make it really long because we literally started at exactly the same time in this industry, right? Maybe within a month or two.
Yeah, exactly.
And so in a way, I want to feel like I've accomplished as much as you've accomplished. So thank you for letting me give you a longer than normal introduction. And I also want all the listeners to know, I was talking to Carl, it was within the past year. I don't remember exactly where, but he said something to the effect of, oh, you've been in this industry for 2 project years. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I think it's been like 20 or 30 years. What do you mean 2 project years or 3 project years? But it's that turn of the zodiac. It's like, oh yeah, so many of the projects we started doing, Carl and I, are up for their second or third renovation. And it kind of ties into, there's like a 12-year cycle also, right? So it's kind of like the zodiac as well. And I call it a turn of the zodiac. You call it a project year. But I think what it means is just our hair is getting grayer and we're getting older. But with that, we gain so much experience. And by virtue of your intro being so long, so many of the things that you're involved in our industry and also outside have nothing to do with like your actual business, right? You're trying to impact others and shorten other people's journeys, which really is resonant with me. So thank you for coming on. Thanks for being like a colleague on this journey with me. And yeah, welcome.
Thanks, Dan. It's been a lot of fun. I mean, you're right. We've been doing it for basically the same amount of time, and it's been a lot of fun to just be part of good projects, be part of good teams, and basically just to grow up in the business and to see where we were, where we are, and everybody that we've been able to get to know and just have them be part of our lives, be part of their lives, and be part of great things in the industry. It's a really fun business to be part of. It's a really fun industry to be part of, and we just get to know great people. And so it's a blast.
Well, and the umbrella under which it all sits and all the organizations that you're involved in, it's hospitality, right? So what about hospitality has kept you here? Like, what does hospitality mean to you? Why hospitality?
If I was to define hospitality, I define it as making room for others, really being considerate of other people in what what you're doing. And either if it's in your home, if it's in your business, if it's in a hotel, where when you are others focused, you say, hey, how can we make this a good thing for you? Ask the question, how can I help you make this memorable, make this comfortable, make this safe, make this edifying? And all of those things wrapped up, it really is active now. You show hospitality. You are um, inviting and making it something that where when they leave, like, wow, I felt I was home. I felt like I belonged there. I felt like these are my people, and I would love to come back. And you can do that at you can do that at a hotel. You can do that at a restaurant. You can do that at a business. You can do that at a school. And really, it's that act of just making room for others.
What's interesting about the making room for others, I don't know if everyone can, if you're watching this, over Carl's, I think your right shoulder, there's some photos. And there's one of two people, I can't tell, with hard hats and shovels at a groundbreaking, perhaps. So in the sense that, like, in what you do, you're making room for others, you're part of hospitality, but it's also what many people and even competitors of mine who want to get into hospitality on the furniture side of things, what they don't understand is, okay, it's all well and good and we're making these great places, but it's also schedule driven, right? You're in this crucible of a Gantt chart. And if you don't make it happen, as much as you want to see everyone and hear everyone, time is money. And if you miss a date, there's cascading effects and it impacts the asset that we're all working on. So wait, where's that picture from? First of all, who's in it?
Oh, it's me and Grace. We are breaking ground on a hotel we're building.
Oh, great. Where is it?
Out in East Texas, Mount Pleasant.
Oh, great.
We have always been hotel adjacent, and then about 2.5 years ago, I said, "Hey, let's build one of our own."
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
so,
I had no idea. Okay, this is amazing. So you and Grace are your developers now too.
yeah, I know, right?
Oh, wow. Okay. So
What? Let me just add on.
yeah, pile it on. So the other thing is, how do you how do you balance that for, okay, we're working within hospitality. It's making room for others. It's seeing them. It's like it's as much a verb as it's more a verb than it is a noun. In your own words, but also you have to balance that with getting things done, right? And being there on time and all of the different surprises that we might examine. So on a day-to-day basis, and I love also, maybe you could frame that up, because when you first started, you said, it's really about where we were versus where we are. So if you think about that tension or the balance between hospitality and getting things done and where you were versus where you are, how do you keep that balanced? And how have you seen the evolution or the transition from when we started to where you are now?
A lot of it is really just trying to maintain perspective. And when you're moving fast and trying to move a lot of things at once, going down either on a project, on a call, on heck, just your data, or driving, even just driving down a highway. When you're going at, depending on who you are, you're going at 60 or 100, and what highway you're at, you don't look at the trees right by you. You have to look at where you're going. And that just is that perspective of understanding what's coming, and then having the ability to say, hey, I see this coming, and now let me prepare for it. When when we first started, it was drinking from a fire hose, and everybody has that. You go into a new business, you go into a new project, you go into a new situation, and there is a sense of, how do I handle all of what's going on? How do I coalesce all of these moving parts and gain that perspective? And that perspective just comes with experience. It comes with time. It comes with, I've seen something similar to this, or I know somebody who lives in that world day to day and is a great advisor, is a trusted advisor. And being able to have those people speak into both your project experience, but also in just your day to day, how to manage it. That's huge. I mean, you can feel when somebody has that calming effect has that calming mindset and approaches things in a systematic way, but still has a winsome way to approach it, still has a kindness about them, still has a mentor perspective about them, where you can go, there's a fork in the road. You can either go that scorched earth, I hate you, and you're going to have to fix something, or let's collaborate. Nobody goes into things wanting to do a bad job. Nobody goes into things wanting to damage anybody.
Well, I think some people want to do it to just win a project, right? And they don't know what they're getting into. I don't think their intention is to mess everything up, but I just think that they're not looking down I love the looking down the road metaphor. They're taking a very short-term view and not a long-term view. And
Oh, you're right.
this goes into also a multi-generational business as well. So I love this one saying, I don't know if it's true or not, where they were talking about the power of compounding interest in money and how um, Albert Einstein said that that's like the most incredible idea that he doesn't understand, right? That how money compounds with interest over time. And I think that something that's more powerful, and I think Einstein would agree, is how relationships compound, right? Speaking from a multi-generational business as well. And to me, that long-term view has so much to do with the relationships, and those relationships are really the fabric that keep our industry ticking. Your thoughts?
Yeah, you are exactly right, because those relationships allow you to overcome the hard things that occur in a project. They allow you to do it with that level of kindness and trust, that level of understanding. Saying, I know you're in this with me. I know you know how to solve the problem. I know you're willing to solve the problem, or you're willing to help me solve the problem. And so those relationships, they obviously have to start somewhere. So nobody can come in and say, hi, nice to meet you. Now we have 20 years of history together. It comes over time, comes over effort. And when you do that, those relationships are what make great projects easy to move ahead. I would say that when the idea of those compounding relationships, it goes in, they become relational, not transactional. I think when you're saying some people in your space that are trying to get in the business, they don't know what they're getting into. And we've seen that. We've seen new companies come in and say, I want to do hotels. How do I get in and do all these projects? I said, well, it's a lot of hard work. And you're probably not going to get the bang for your buck on the first one. You're not going to be able to fully understand the path you're walking initially. So being able to kind of understand that process, it takes time.
I think the first project that I ever worked on, it was 2001 or two with Tamara Seipel, Hirschbedner HBA in San Francisco, and you guys were purchasing it. And it was for the Watermark Hotel on Riverwalk in San Antonio. And I'm so glad the Knicks beat the Spurs this year. So thank you, San Antonio. Thank you for being my first entree into the first project one. But I'm so glad we defeated you, and that felt very good. But I just remember getting a call that there were these big wardrobe units, and the bun legs were breaking. I'm like, what? How is that possible? They're like solid legs. And then I went down, and the installer was like pushing them over the threshold and cracking them. So then I was like, okay, I flew down there. It was like Christmas, or just after Christmas, or just before Christmas. And I went to Granger or Whitecap. I don't remember which one, but one of those building supply things. And I got a stubby pallet jack, and I bought it. It was so heavy to get into the site. And I brought it over to the installer. Like, use this if you're going to do it, keep it in a room. And then it kind of shut the noise down. But it was also just like, no one told me I needed to do that, but I just knew that this was my first, and I had to go above and beyond and just make it happen.
Well, that it's that willingness to jump in, that willingness to say, here's, I want to be part of the solution. I want to be part of the team. I want to understand really what it is to help move it ahead. And a lot of people through the years have demonstrated that willingness. and demonstrating that willingness to help on a problem. And at the same time, I I I try to default to believing the best about people. I try to default, hey, you're going in here with the best intentions. And when you go into it with that type of perspective, you look and you say, hey, we can do this. And that's the other part. When we had somebody here speaking the other day is, they were asking about superpowers. Like every in our staff, we had somebody talking about leadership and kind of personal growth. And one of the questions that he asked was, if you had a superpower, what would it be? I that's not a question I've thought of. Um, and I asked my wife later that night, and she goes, "Well, Carl, if I were to say yours, it's kind of a willingness to try. It's this way. We can do it. What's preventing us from being able?"
Yeah. Well, that's also just the entrepreneurial mindset. And to be an entrepreneur, it's not like some people think to be an entrepreneur, you have to start a business or go out and like come up with some new crazy idea. Okay, yeah, you can come up with a new crazy idea within an existing business because basically, to me, the definition of entrepreneur is anyone who is trying to come up with an idea or solve a problem with limited resources, right? You're just, and in order to do that, it's exactly as Grace says, right? It's to try things like, why not? And yeah, you can try and iterate and okay, that didn't work, but let's try another one. I think so. I love that. And I think this has come up. People have asked me what my superpower is. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. But then I think if I think about it, it's um really hearing what's unsaid, especially when there's a problem. Because like if there's a big problem, like those cracking things, or like the longshoreman strike that we had at the palace, like the first time, like the whole West Coast shut down in the middle of a couple hundred room project, or just other failures in the field. It's you have all the stakeholders around, and I'm very good at hearing because everyone is relational, and sometimes they're scared to say who it is, and I'll be like, "Look, that's my issue. I'll take it." I call it entering the danger because people talk around it and just go, because then we can all just solve for whatever is there. We can try different things, but as being able to try things and also hearing what's unsaid, I think is a really good recipe for a successful career, not just a project.
Well, Dan, I think that the interesting part there is when you ask about people that want to get in and what that looks like to be in the hospitality industry and hospitality design industry in particular, it's your willingness to actually step into that. Because when there are financial implications, there's risk, and being able to say, hey, I own this part, I'm willing to help. When we started, that level of trust between everybody involved was significantly higher than I think it is now.
What do you think is the reason for that?
I think it's a flood of documentation. I think it's the over litigation and over documentation of every single dot and tittle on a project. And so that leaves for an incredibly small amount of gray area, which isn't bad. But what happens is those gray areas become much more fraught with tension and much more fraught with disagreement. And so the understanding, one, how to eliminate the gray area, but then do it in a way that still promotes collaboration. That's the big challenge in our market right now is this overflow of information. And I've heard you say this, where we over communicate. We are out in front of problems, which that again, that long-term perspective. I see this coming. There's a problem, guys. Let's talk about it. Stepping into that danger. That's 100% right. The challenge becomes when I see this problem coming and everything around it also compounds into the information that has to be dealt with, as opposed to distilling to what is the actual issue? What do we need to deal with to move it forward? Let's not spin around about this side and this side and this side. Who actually needs to make the decision? What is the way to move ahead together?
It is, and it is interesting. Like I just watched The Odyssey. It's one of my favorite books, poems of all time, and I just watched it. And they didn't. This is more like an offshoot story from the Odyssey, but when Agamemnon comes back with Cassandra, she's the one that has like the power of foresight and sees his death, and she's always crying and upset. And she's like, your wife is going to kill you. Like she sees that all happening. And in my mind, there's so many times when we, you and I, we may see the problem way out there. And this is the frustrating part. We see it, we vocalize it like this is going to happen, but then other people at the table, they're just their heads in the sand, or they're just not listening, and then it becomes this huge issue that we have to talk about later. And I like being Cassandra, but it's also frustrating when people don't listen to our gray hair, because that's really where all the gray hair came from.
Yeah, 100%. I that's a shock because I have significantly more gray hair than you, so I get it. No, you're exactly right. Like again, that idea of how do we get out ahead of these things? And the smoothest projects that we've ever been part of have been those where it's led by somebody who understands that you can't just make these decisions one in a vacuum, and you can't just make them immediately. Taking the opportunity to say, okay, there are things coming. How do we get out ahead of them? Let's identify them. Let's address them. And if we don't address them, don't let them just fall off the list. So we actually can be part of regularly scheduled programming.
Yeah.
Where what are the issues? What are the issues that are approaching that we may not have thought about, and then building in time and a schedule to then adjust for the unknown. Because not everything can be known, not everything can be planned for, as much as architects like to be able to assume it can. Not everything can. So you have to build in both contingency in your schedule and your contingency in your budget for the longshoreman strike, tariffs, ships getting caught in the Suez Canal, straight up Hormuz closing, or just other things where, you know what, we love this and I want to make it pivot.
But I also think a lot of it comes down to transparency as well, because oftentimes we can see these, but I know there is over communication, but I feel as if we see that train wreck or that iceberg way out there in the future, is if we're just transparent with everyone and everything gets communicated upward in the correct way, at least we know about it and it doesn't come as a surprise. I think maybe what I found in that superpower of just hearing what's unsaid is that the more we can share and be transparent, I think unconsciously we're all able to be ready to adapt or pivot, like you just said, when that challenge comes. But we all have to be looking way down the road and seeing what that challenge is.
Well, you have to be looking down the road, and at the same time, trust that the people there are also with you and being transparent. And it's the relational aspect of a project. It's the relational aspect of what do we need to accomplish and how can we do it together? What do we need to be thinking about, and knowing that you have a team of people that really are engaged in what you do. It's not just, I need this widget on this day. It's, we all need these things in this sequence to accomplish what we have to do. And the various aspects of everybody on a project is what's needed. And that goes from the very first initial permit guy to the opening housekeeper in one of the suites, making sure that the coffee service and the room is styled correctly. And so those level of detail, you have to make sure that everybody is transparent, but understands the goals and understands kind of where everybody needs to be. Because if you're not, then things aren't clear. And the lack of clarity in terms of goals, in terms of where you need to be, often just creates those delays.
One of the things that surprises me, that I get all the time, and I'm sure you probably get also, is, hey, Dan, what do you do? what do you do for a living? I'm at a cocktail party. I'm like, oh, I furnish hotels. And they're like, so so you sell to Marriott? You sell to, and I'm like, no, there's like a designer, there's a purchaser, there's an owner, we'll hire a whole team. And then we bid on things and then we execute it. We do a model room. We get there, we get the whole rollout, hopefully. And then we're just there, but we're also just like trying to get ahead of all these issues because they come up and just make sure that the hotel gets open on time. Now you in procurement, project management and procurement, you must get that also because I think people just don't know that this whole world in hospitality design exists. So do you get that? Like, do you get that a lot?
all the time, all the time. And what my kids say that I'm a spy.
Because you lived in India forever. And
Well, I'm often on the road to random places. I know I travel internationally and I get things from places where they need to be, when they need to be there. And so it sounds like a great cover for a spy.
yes.
But yeah, I get that question all the time when I say, what do you do? I say, I'm in the hotel business. I mean, I'm in the hospitality industry.
And then they're like, well, what does that mean? Like, what do you do?
Well, I help furnish hotels. Like I said, nobody ever thinks how a desk chair or a nightstand gets in a room. I'm the guy that gets it there. And so the challenge with hotels is everybody thinks it's, oh yeah, you work for those big brands. You work for the furniture shop. You work for a furniture company. And ultimately 95% of what's made in a hotel is made to order. So even brand standard product is made to order. So that hotel, that brand standard hotel in upstate New York, will have contract made furniture for that hotel, whatever brand it is, made for it the exact same time, but differently, just slightly, than the hotel in San Diego, and everywhere in between. So you're looking at the idea of that consultative part, and you do this when you're supplying furniture. We do this on scheduling and developing a sourcing strategy, and being a resource for owners that are really taking a big risk in terms of the planning side. So you have the pre-development, where what's that planning like? What is schedule? Where do you want to source from? What is your risk tolerance from where and how you're doing things? And then all the way through to delivery and installation, where when you get to the point of completion, how do you deal with the one or two pieces that just either weren't right, were damaged, broken, or just weren't there?
You blame the purchaser.
Yeah, of course. That's right. Everything rolled downhill. So, which is true. I mean, ultimately, that's our job, is to make sure things are there, and then we go out and say, okay, well, how do you solve it? Right. The crazy part.
No, really, you blame the manufacturer. So like,
Well, no, you can't make what you didn't know. Right. So legitimately, I tell that's a regular part of our conversation is when things go wrong, and they will, is how to effectively handle those problems. And again, you being able to, like I said, step in that danger, hear the unsaid, and really navigate those relationships. I think that's a wonderful skill. And after this, I'm going to tell our staff to start listening like that. That's so good.
yeah, it's great because then it's like if you can take that step to entering the danger and just, okay, this is an uncomfortable part, but like it just gets everyone closer to finding a solution and ultimately managing the risk on a project.
Yeah.
I've heard this said a bunch recently. I don't know where, but I've brought this up, but I've heard people refer to Jeff Bezos saying this, that other people's margin is my opportunity, right? In the sense that a retailer is making a huge margin, a bookseller is making a huge margin on selling this product. Amazon can come in and like be more efficient and make it his opportunity. Every cycle, right? We talk about project years. We're entering our third project year, maybe, right?
All right.
Yeah, or we're in it. We're in the middle or starting our third. Yeah. We're in the first 3 innings of our third project year. In many of those, and those project years kind of tie into real estate cycles also, or the debt cycle. Every couple of cycles or every cycle, some of the bigger furniture players or FF&E players are like, oh yeah, we want to go do hotels. Even like the Wayfarers and like all these other companies. And I think what they find is that margin is not there. And all of the headache and heartache of getting those things open and taking that long term, it's a very difficult business. And I know that, you know, with AI, Amazon and all the things that are out there, and this could be hubris on my own part, but I just am curious what your impression is on why we have not been disrupted yet.
It's really funny you mentioned that, Dan. Actually, not funny because it's opportune. Like it's the talk of the moment, and we're seeing it. We're seeing it presently. Where I think that there is disruption coming. I think that there are people in our companies that are actively working to find where that space is, and it's going to be related to AI. It's going to be related to increased efficiency. But where I think the gap is this is a high risk, low margin business.
Thank you. That's the word. That's what I was looking for. Okay. Yes.
And so that is not the business that companies that say, oh, I'm going to get in that furniture business. There's massive revenue. There's massive. Yeah, but it's so dispersed, so distributed, so granular, and so incredibly local that the locus of power and decision making, the locus of influence, requires the relational aspect of what we do. It requires that problem solving for 3 projects years worth of time. It requires the knowledge base of the lady that runs our operations. She has probably moved more furniture around the world than most people have ever thought would possible.
That's it. That's actually so one of the thoughts I've been messing around with for a couple of years is I'm going to make up a number. Let's say there's 5 million furniture factories in the world. And that could be from someone's garage to a multi-million square foot, completely automated IKEA factory, right? And I would say of those 5 million, let's say there's 500 that really can do short bursts of custom production with different materials from wood, metal, 500 globally with efficiency, quality, timelines, all the things that we require. I think that, and factories inherently, maybe not the garage factories, but like any factory tends to be super efficient, right? In the sense that if a factory stops getting an order today, no more orders are coming today. By the time that last order runs through that factory, there shouldn't be a screw left in the factory, right? Because everything there shouldn't even be sawdust because that's all sent off to incense makers or fertilizer or whatever. They're super efficient. So really, all of that automation and AI, I'm like tongue in cheek, that's enabled on the blockchain, that has to happen in all the stuff that we're doing to shorten that journey, to get it ready for that factory to start making sawdust. And that's the value add that we all do from a risk management perspective. And yes, there are significant gains that can happen, but once that factory starts processing that order, like it's super efficient and it's already super automated. But what we found is that you need people to be there on the factory side and on the supplier side, speaking of Burnham Falk, also just to like make sure that everything is being done the way it's supposed to be done. And all from managing risk and time, because time is money. So I don't mean to say that we're not going to get disrupted, but I do think that we're all using all of these tools that are available on the back of the blockchain. Just kidding. to make sure that our hotels get open on time and that we're maintaining these relationships of these real assets.
Well, that becomes, damn, that's the hinge that this whole inflection point operates on. And that type of understanding of the how to use the tool to leverage the experience, that's really where the value is found. And it's not that margin that you'll see in we're trying to shrink that margin. Ultimately, it's that last mile of delivery. It's that first 10 miles of pre-planning that has to be done. And you can't, that the idea of being able to fully automate it, even with the rapidity that AI is learning, some of the administrative tasks you can automate. That's unequivocal. But the challenge exists where you have those automated tasks that require consultative knowledge. You have this, I mean, I am going to compare myself to a doctor. Your radiologist right now, you throw an X-ray into an AI engine, and the X-ray is going to find it. We've all read these studies. Like, it found this one dot in an X-ray that the naked eye couldn't see, because it's analyzing the data in such a granular way. But then it goes to the doctor has to say, yeah, I agree, and here is the treatment. And so what you find is in the real world, in the space where a carpenter made a window an oddball shape, perfectly square, right? How many perfectly level floors are there?
Huh.
You know, right? Welcome to levelers.
Yes.
So those types of questions, how do you plan for that?
Mm.
How do you plan for the actual flow of a project? And it's using these tools that exist, but at the same time, going back to where you and I started, is I need to be able to pick up the phone and call you and say, "Hey, Dan, we have an issue."
I wonder, so we're early in our third project year in that first 3 innings. I love Tony La Russa, who is an awesome manager of the Cardinals and the A's. He always looked at every baseball game in thirds, like the first third, 3 innings, middle third, final third. So in our third project year, we're in the first third, right?
Agreed.
Hey, everybody. We've been doing this podcast for over 3 years now. And one of the themes that consistently comes up is sustainability. And I'm just really proud to announce that our sponsor, Berman Falk Hospitality Group, is the first within our hospitality industry to switch to sustainable and recyclable packaging, eliminating the use of styrofoam. Please check out their impact page in the show notes for more info.
I wonder how this part of this conversation will age towards the middle and the end. I personally think it takes people. Yeah, we can squeeze all the juice out of the orange, but it still you still need people in that experience to get it done. And actually, that's a great pivot into one of the most amazing things about hospitality. So going back to that cocktail party relationship or conversation, where it's like, what do you do? I was like, oh, I furnish hotels. Well, what does that mean? Oh, well, actually, let me clarify. I try to furnish hotels. I wake up every morning, and I figure out how am I going to furnish a hotel. And sometimes I'm successful, sometimes I'm not. But in those hotels, they're laboratories of business and opportunity for people. Whether you're the general manager in accounting, running the surf shop, the ski rental, the bellman, like you have so many different opportunities. You have so many opportunities where you can have a degree from Cornell or Penn State or somewhere in Switzerland, or a high school degree. And one of the things, and also, if you have a high school degree and you start working in a hotel and you love people and you can hear what's unsaid and you want to try things, you can try anything and get so much experience. And if your bosses and the management there take a liking to you, there's so many stories of a steep career curve in a hotel.
Right.
Where you could be, and there's so many stories, a general manager or a head of rooms or whatever, rather quickly if you show some gumption and want to try things and hear what's unsaid and are good with people. One of the things I'm fascinated with that you've taken under your wing, one of the many things, but also to see you light up when you talk about it, is in Richardson High School, there's a hospitality program where I don't know why when we talk about debt and like the affordability crisis and all these things, and again, I'm not an economist, nor do I play one on TV, but I don't know why more people in high school, like we hear about people going into HVAC or the trades, but I also think hospitality is a great stepping stone to, if you were to start working in hotels and not have that debt load of going to college and take whatever that debt load would have been and bought a house or invested in like an index fund, you're going to be so incredibly ahead of the game by the time you're 30 or whenever you start having kids, and that American dream is there. So I'd love for you to tell us why you're passionate about what's going on at Richardson High School and some of the testimonials and stories that you might have heard so far.
So yeah, thanks. So the program at Richardson High School is led by a coach. Her name's Bobby Weir. And
Oh, from the Grateful Dead. He came back to life? No, it's a her.
no, but yeah, Bobby Lynn Weir. She's the coach or the leader of this Richardson High School hospitality program. And it's a vocational education. So you know how people you have wood shop, auto shop. Well, this is the hospitality shop. And for years, it was just two classrooms that had a wall, your traditional classroom with the old classroom desk and the blinds and everything that was traditionally associated with the classroom. But they would learn the practical aspects of what it is to be in a hotel, what it is to work in a hotel. And here in Dallas, the Omni Hotels has partnered with them. And so Omni sponsored this hotel school at Richardson High. And there are these high school students, they go in there, they can start as a freshman and go senior year, be part of that the high school program. And they will actually walk out learning how to work in a hotel. Bobby works to get them summer jobs at hotels. They do internships at hotels. And they have part of this program. We actually worked with Omni, worked with just many other vendors to furnish what I would call a hotel lobby in the high school.
Oh, wow.
You have custom banquettes, custom tables. You have a reception desk. You have the concierge desk. You have the meeting room in the back, which has a place where the students can reserve it to have meetings. And there's the general manager of the hotel school. There's the F&B director of the hotel school, and they schedule events. It is just phenomenal because they walk out with the idea that I can have a job right out of high school and it'll be well paying and I'll be trained.
And it can be in the hospitality design part of things or the operations or. There's so many different options. So how long has this been going on for? When did it start?
I think she's been doing it. We worked on getting the hotel school built for about 3 years before it was finally able to navigate the approval process at Richardson ISD. And Bobby is a real force of nature in terms of forcing things through. Saying, when I met her at the Dallas Hotel Show, we started chatting. She asked what I did. And I said, well, I help people build hotels. Oh, what do you mean? Well, if you pick up the building and shake it, everything that falls out, that's what we're responsible for. Oh, so you design it? No. Do you sell it? No. Do you buy it?
We're back at the cocktail party or dinner party conversation of trying to explain what the hell we do.
So after about 10 minutes, she goes, oh my God, you are exactly who I need to help make this happen. Okay, Bobby, what? Yeah, great. At that point, my two sons were in high school, and I said, okay, well, let's see what we can do to help out. And sure enough, she partnered with Omni. Omni did the design, and we started actually getting product made, and we did it over the summer. They had an opening day. They had the contractor at the Richardson High took the wall down, refinished the wall vinyl, custom banquettes, all the other stuff that goes into it. And she had a grand opening. And since then, the state of Texas has actually named her as part of the Texas State Commission
Wow.
to make this program exist in other high schools.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
The opportunity is just so great. And the other part is the need. There are right now in the hotel industry, there are, I think there's about 20% of unfillable jobs in the hotel industry. So you have this opportunity, come in and learn a business and then grow in it. Grow into the engineering side, grow into the finance side, grow into the sales side, grow into the management side, grow into the construction side, grow into the designs. All of a sudden, the trajectory and where you can go, it's amazing.
Without a debt burden.
Without a debt burden, and you don't have to be tied to just one thing.
And a steep career path.
Exactly. The amount of, so both of my sons actually worked at 2 different hotels this summer. And my youngest he wants to work in hotels because he says it's fun. He gets to meet people. He gets to welcome people in. He gets to say, hey, I want to be part of this business. And at the same time, the people that he was working for said, yeah, if you're willing to work, get ready. If you're willing to invest, get ready, because the ramp is just super steep. So any kid that is looking to do something, that we as an industry, I think absolutely need to do more in promoting that as an option, because it's not, you'll hear the stuff on the shows, promote the trades, yeah, awesome. Absolutely do that. But at the same time, our industry in the hospitality industry is massive in scale, massive in opportunity. And if you are willing to work, sky's the limit.
Yeah. And it's like your son said, it's fun. I also think like every generation rebels against the previous generation. And I'm going to make screens and remote work be the previous generation. I'm hopeful, speaking of my kids, that they're going to want to be interacting with people more. Because for me, I don't know. I was just thinking the other day, like as my daughter's entering college and then like, my other kids are in high school, I just was like, I hope they never have to do a remote work or situation, because I just think so, like, okay, we had the opportunity and you still do, but of being in offices, and then it kind of went all distributed and now people are starting to come back, but now there's this hybrid thing. I really think and hope that people will thirst for collaborative together working again.
Yeah. That's a huge part of it. I agree. And Dan, you are exactly right that's needed, and people thirst for it. People want that connection. People want to be together, and that hotels provide that. Restaurants provide that. The opportunity to be actually be together, where humanity is relational.
And you get to see the best of it and also the worst of it. And also sometimes the worst of it, again, when you go back to those cocktail parties and the dinner parties, the worst of it are they're the best conversations to talk about in hindsight. It's super funny and amazing. And you're like, wow, people suck, but they're also amazing.
That was the worst thing I've ever seen. Yeah.
Yes.
That's exactly it. I mean, and so I have been incredibly blessed to be able to help just do our little part for that and help just coordinate. The credit really goes to Bobby, and the credit goes to Omni here in Dallas. I mean, Omni is significantly investing in those young people at Richardson High.
Who at Omni is championing that?
The general manager,
Okay.
Carolyn. And I mean, I'll gladly connect.
Yeah, I would love to have a follow-up and dig a little deeper with Bobby and Carolyn, because like, as people listen to this, it would be great to have their kind of boots on the ground experience share. because I think I know this is Texas, but like I'm hopeful that this could, and I'm sure it is probably already spreading out. I just don't know about it, but the more that we can talk about it, because I just hear everything about the trades, which is great. And two things can be true at once. Like hospitality is another place, whether it's on the design side, operations, or all the different facets that you mentioned. Does Bobby get like a Texas Ranger badge? That would be really cool.
Yeah, I don't think she does, but
She deserves one though.
yeah, well, she actually was just named. She was actually just named to the Texas Classroom Commission.
Wow.
So by the governor. So I mean, it's like I said, I'll absolutely connect you. And once I connect you, Dan, she won't let go.
Oh, good. Oh no, I'm happy to be part of that megaphone for her.
Yeah.
To get her vision out there, because I see you're lighting up talking about it now. If you're listening, I can just, all of you who are just listening, speaking to Carl in person about this, like you can see him light up talking about it. It's infectious.
Good. Well, it's opportunity. And I think when that opportunity to be able to do something good with and give people just an opportunity to benefit, I think it's wonderful. So we had an intern here this summer at PMI who came from the hospitality, that program, high school intern.
Oh, great.
She wants to get into supply chain management. She wants to work for Mexico, the government of Mexico, in trade relations with China and Japan.
Oh, I might have someone I can introduce her to who was awesome as we explored going into Mexico, and we'll take that offline.
She was, I mean, again, but think about this she's a high school junior, or she's a rising senior this year. But that type of forethought and just that vision, I mean, Dan, when we started, or before we started, I had no idea hospitality purchasing existed. I thought I didn't have a second thought on hotels. And then all of a sudden,
Well, that's because you were from Alaska, where everyone grew up in igloos, right? Actually, I think you're the first guest from Alaska.
I need to listen. There's a few of us. So we get the list of exports of Alaskans that are in the lower 48, and I'm glad I'm the first. That's
Sorry, the igloo joke was bad, but funny.
the idea for those types of opportunities. Hospitality issue is one of the few that I think still exist.
And to hear a rising junior or a rising senior want to get so specific into supply chain management and negotiating trade between Asia and Mexico is freaking amazing.
I mean, think about this. Like that's this coming generation. I heard, I mean, you hear this all the time. Like, oh God, the previous generation, they don't get it. They're not going to work as hard. They're not going to do what we did. They're not going to go through the burdens and the struggles that we have.
They will.
They will.
Of course they will.
The future is so incredibly bright for those people that are willing to put in the effort.
They just might not be as good at making eye contact as we are.
Exactly.
But they're going to do it. They're going to. And I just remember the name of that organization. It's Pro Mexico. And I think that's exactly what she wants. And there was this woman, I can't remember her name, but she was amazing. She set me up with an agenda of going to like 22 different factories within Mexico as I was looking to expand my supply chain down that way. That's amazing. And that exists. I'm sure she's probably already keyed into it, but I'm happy to make a connection. I'll give it to you after this and we can talk about it.
We had her not fully understanding what we did. We just connected her with on our team to help expedite some products.
Awesome.
And sit with our expediting team to watch what we actually do.
As we talk about people and the past, and also I know we talked about, being in the first third of our third project year. I'm noticing a real slowdown. Everyone, like if you pick up the newspaper, CapEx is talked about all the time, but it's just about hyperscalers, NVIDIA chips, Google, Meta, all of these things. CapEx, capital expenditures are happening, but it's pretty slow to come back on our side for hospitality. And I'm wondering anecdotally, like what you're experiencing, and at what point do you think all that deferred CapEx will break through that dam? Like, what are you seeing out there?
The funny part, we're seeing it is pretty spotty. We have clients that they are committed to their schedule. They're typically longer term holders, and they understand that the value of the asset has to be maintained, and they're willing to invest in that. And they are willing to not only invest, but improve with that eye for their future and kind of future asset value. What's been funny is that shift into those hyperscales, the data centers, those different types that aren't in our business. Ultimately, they're creating the adjacent growth. We have a project in Oklahoma where a client is investing a significant amount of money in a small hotel because our data center is being built 50 miles up the road, and he's basically going to become the nicest hotel for them to stay.
So kind of like workforce housing, but nicer,
Not even workforce housing,
like a boutique hotel around the data center.
Full service hotel. So you have that, and then you have the workforce housing, you have the extended stay, you have those other things that are necessary, and they're typically less expensive and fast to build. But the other challenge, and this is where when we've seen deal flow not move, is that it's right now the cost, but it's a cost function. Sellers want more than buyers are willing to spend
On the asset itself, not whether they're going to do the work. Yeah, I still think there's like a huge dislocation there.
There's a big spread, and the fact that those deferred PIPs, the deferred renovation, just has been allowed to happen. Ultimately, the clean out of the system. I was listening to a guy this week that Hilton coming up with Spark.
Oh, that was amazing.
Yeah, and then kicking out a bunch of Hamptons and for the opportunity to build a bunch more new Hamptons.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that's what has to happen for those. The brands have to enforce it, and what we're seeing is they're becoming more and more willing to do that, and not defer them.
The Hilton's growth. I interviewed the brand manager for Spark last year or the year before, and that strategy that they kept under wraps, like in a skunk works, if you will, and then came up with this super fast, super easy way to reposition a hotel. I forget what their net unit growth was off of that, but I feel like from 0 to 18 months in, they had like 130. I'm making up numbers, but it was like considerable. And when everyone's thirsted for net unit growth, that really helped. But now I just keep, and I know Hilton also is leading with overweighting their guest feedback and guest comments, so that the more positive, they're actually reducing, I don't know by how much, the management fees. So there's a carrot that they've established for them. And then for the ones who are underperforming, I don't know if there's a penalty or they're starting to pull flags now. But I think that they're the first one that's kind of figured out an economic lever. But I still think there's something dislocated between the bid and the ask on the hotels themselves that needs to get resolved. I don't know what resolves it though, because I feel like the place we're in right now is very reminiscent to, I don't know, 2010, 11, right? It was because we were busy even after the financial crisis. We were busy doing all the work that was booked, trailing. But I do feel like then there was like a year or 2.5 years of just kind of waiting for it to come back. And then it just snapped back. And it wasn't like there was something terrible that happened. It just snapped back. And I don't know when that's going to happen and what that is contingent on.
I would say it's probably within the next 2 years, because I think we've had a period of about 10 years, significant uncertainty, just economically. You've had a megaphone in the White House. You've had an ineffective Congress. You've had interest rates that were not moving naturally, which again, like, think what you want to think, whatever side of you believe. I think that level of uncertainty it absolutely puts a damper on things. And then you throw COVID in the middle of it. Prior to COVID, rooms and room occupancy and room rate were just at an all-time high. So you're not going to don't take rooms out of service. And brands agree, because they were making money hand over fist, and people were able to build hotels inexpensively the global supply chain was incredibly efficient. And I say this, I tell people regularly that a well-written FF&E specification is efficiently priced.
Totally.
So you're not being with our global supply chain for that niche of hospitality product really allows for a well-defined project budget, well-specified project, well thought out to be delivered correctly. And so right now, what we had prior to COVID was you had economic conditions and rate and occupancy that allowed for new supply to come in, existing owners to maintain their CapEx reserves, and the brands that are allowing them to defer it because they were making so much money. Brand comes in, owner comes in and says, I'm making record room rate. Brand comes to say, you're up for a renovation. I need to start taking rooms out of service. Okay, not happening. Fine, fight me. I'm making more money than I ever have on a hotel. And then the COVID shutdown, all of that CapEx reserve that existed went to either just survive.
I also think like we're also all talking about inflation, and it's real. I see it every time I go. I'm in Fire Island right now, and I went to go buy a chicken. Granted, we're on Fire Island, so it's hard for things. It was a $45 chicken that I have to cook. So that's like extreme, but we're all seeing it at the pump. We're all seeing it on the shelves. But again, I'm not an economist, nor do I play one on TV. But when we started in the early 2000s until COVID, with the rise of Asia manufacturing and China and the powerhouse and all that is, and freight rates, merchandise, there was almost no inflation for like 20 years.
Right. It's so Dan, it's so funny you mentioned that because we'll look back at just the history of the company, kind of where we see prices. We take that as kind of an annual study on where we're seeing prices go and movement. And you're exactly right. There were mattresses and carpet were the two that really were able to track year over year, pretty linear growth. Everything else was wildly flat.
Totally.
And well, there's two parts. One, it's in the early aughts, the Asian manufacturing, opening up of easy shipping, making shipment, basically removing as many possible barriers to that international trade. And so that just opened up people for competition. That opened up the idea of where you can make it. Well, I need to keep my price the same. So where can I go in the world to keep my price within this range?
But also with that, aside from just the merchandise and the cost of shipping and the cost of goods, I think fees for design and purchasing and all of the consultants involved, I think there was no inflation on that either for 20 years. So it's almost like we're reverting to the mean, but it's like going upwards instead of down, right? And I think if you were to do a dotted line up and to the right from 2001 to where we are now, I think it was probably flat, and now it's snapped up, but I think it's catching up to where we are.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's that idea of lack of price growth, just on less of project cost, that we are getting to the point where the friction that has been inserted into international trade is actually having the effect that Donald Trump wants it to have. And so, I mean, I think ultimately he wants a U.S. centric trade policy. So
Yeah.
he's used tariffs to do that. And in doing that, that absolutely increases the cost for the product coming in. And it makes an incentive for some possibility to have product that is impacted as little as possible by those tariffs.
It also increases the risk of the wheels coming off the bus. So I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And that
All we can do in our vocation is just kind of adapt and be as nimble as we can. And it's almost like whack-a-mole with where we're getting product from, how we're delivering it, what projects we're working on. And again, that comes back to the high risk, low margin nature of what we do. Right. So in a way, we're gluttons for punishment, and like the gravitational pull or the black hole that's keeping us here is hospitality, and we love it.
it's hot, but we've also figured out how to do it. That's the part. It is a unique skill set. This isn't just standard project management. You look at some of these massive project management firms, they don't have hospitality projects don't have the margin to put on the large scale console project management company to run the master development of a 170 room hotel in Boise.
Yeah.
It's an impossibility. We're a cottage industry that nobody outside of it really knows how to diagram.
And again, it comes back to those relationships and multi-generational businesses and those relationships that have compounded over the years. So if we're in the first third of our third project year, what's exciting you as you look to the end of our third project year?
I think it's really the opportunity to lean into these tools that exist, but do it in a relational consultative way. I think there are two divergent paths right now in where we are in just the hospitality industry. One being AI and process driven, tech driven. Come on, click on a couple things and we'll get you what you need. The other is relational. The other is consultative. The other is we add value to the project and make it possible, deliver when you want, where you want, help you develop those things that aren't necessarily rote. And so there's opportunity for both, but I think that divergence, I think, is really exciting. And being able to understand that from how we continue to just grow in that business, I'm wildly excited about. And so we have that type of buy-in in terms of how we want to do things. So it's fun. I mean, being able to look ahead and say that we're on a growth path, and it goes back to that. Hey, why can't we? That idea. I'm always willing to try what's next, trying where and how we can continue to grow the company, but also give people the opportunity to just be part of a fun industry and develop those relationships and make a team of superstars. And so if you focus on the mission and not the credit, that's really where we succeed. And that's really where, if I can get our team focused on that's a success, because we're a service company. And the whole idea behind that requires us putting those others first. And when we do that I think is the heart of the hospitality industry. You think of the others first, going back to our.
And if that's your recipe, I would say sprinkle in a little bit of hearing the unsaid, because the unsaid will kind of plot the trajectory of where we're all going. Carl, this has been a wonderful conversation. If people wanted to learn more about you, PMI, Richardson High School, AHLA, all of the aboves, what's a good way for them to get in touch?
We can connect with us on LinkedIn, connect with us at our website, or you can email me. I would love the opportunity to talk about AHLA, their No Room for Trafficking initiative, Richardson High School, obviously hotel purchasing, which is a lot of fun, and everyone wants to get involved.
That's right. And now hotel development, looking at you and Grace back there with your hard hats on.
That's a lot of fun.
So as you guys are digging out the hole, is Bill like putting dirt back in the hole?
Oh no, Bill was there too.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're all in it together, man.
That's amazing. Well, please give him my best. Please give everyone my best. I've enjoyed this. Thank you, Carl, for being a part of this. I'm so happy we did this.
Yeah, same here.
And also to all of our listeners, if this has changed your way of thinking about hospitality or our niche in the hospitality world, or if you think of someone or some high school that might want to learn more about what they got going on in Richardson, please pass this along, give it a like, give it a subscribe. I love doing these. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time.